Flex Network. This is the Flex Network. Flex on them. Flex on everybody. This right here is the Flex Network. Yeah. Flex on the
Oh, yes, everybody, we are here. This is the Flex Network presenting to you the very first episode of the Fantasy Flex Dynasty Podcast. We are joined today by a new co-chairman. He's from Canada, okay? So don't hate on him too much, okay? You know, it's quite all right. You know, I'm obviously a Golden State Warriors fan, and the Toronto team that I don't like to mention very often just so happened to put themselves in a bad position up against my Warriors in the finals. I think I'm about to make an on-air prediction that there will be a clean sweep and not even a second chance. You could go ahead and turn your mic on now. You're fine.
All right. What's going on, Beck? How you doing, man?
Hey, man, thank you for coming on, and I would like to make this an announcement. I think if all goes well, we'll be able to do this every time and as much as we want. But, you know, thank you for coming on. You're from Canada. Can you describe, you know, where you're from and or how we met?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I don't know if you guys know where that is, but it's Western Canada, kind of near the Rocky Mountains, about an hour from the Rocky Mountains. And yeah, you're right. We the North, baby. We're gonna rock it. You know what? Everybody was saying the Bucks were gonna sweep the Raptors. That didn't happen. And the Raps got home court advantage. So I'm just gonna lay it out there. I think it's gonna be Raps in 6. I'm gonna call it.
Raps? Is that what you guys call each other?
Yeah, man, you guys do. Absolutely, the Raptors, the Raps.
The Raps.
And you know what? I'm a little bit surprised that you didn't have Drake as your intro theme.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right.
We're getting going early, baby. Let's go.
Okay. I can appreciate that. It was a beautiful day in the PNW today, and something that I found out about you just the other day, and I didn't know this. I don't know why I didn't know this, but we're only 1 hour away in a time difference. And so does that mean, so I'm stupid when it comes to this, does that mean you are semi close to me, like in Canada?
Would be, yeah, man. Do you know where Vancouver is? I'm assuming you know where Vancouver is, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
Just north of you. So yeah, no, I'm about an hour and a half flight from Vancouver, but obviously going to the mountains. Yeah, so I'm pretty close. It goes like British Columbia and Alberta. That's where I am. So I'm pretty close. I'm not too far from you.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, I would be like probably maybe an hour and a half, 2 hour flight to get to Seattle, because you're right in Seattle, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm a little outside of Seattle, but yeah, I'm not close to Vancouver, really, you could say. But well, that's awesome. So it was a beautiful day then today for you, I would assume.
You know what? It's not too bad. Like people joke about it, but we had snow 2 days ago, and it's all melted. It's green. Yeah, well, we get snow. I live near the mountains, right? So we get snow, and within a couple hours it melts. We're good. But right now, people were mowing their lawns today. It was beautiful. I'm not going to complain. We're talking about football in what, May 26th, 2019. This is fantastic.
Does that make us degenerates?
I would say we're the definition of degenerates. I don't know what I was looking at it. So I don't know if you've done any best balls yet.
I'm not a big best ball guy. I'll just put it out there. Yeah. I'm not a big best ball guy.
Can you guys do best ball in Washington?
No, we probably could,
Yeah.
not for money, but you know,
Okay.
we can create best ball leagues, we can play them on,
Right.
you know, wherever the outlets are. But just
Okay.
personally, I don't know why, but I'm really generally not a best ball guy. I mean, I get it, and it's maniacal, it's crazy, and it provides a lot more fun to be drafting a lot earlier, but just never
Listen,
been personally into it. I don't know why.
I think you got to give it a shot, man. I think I started it 2 years ago, and I did maybe 5, and it did okay. I did okay. I ended up getting enough to pay for a couple entries for this year or for last year,
Oh,
and I
nice.
think I entered 18 last year total. And then that doesn't count draft. I kind of ripped through a bunch of those $1 draft ones, and I think I'm on number 16 already this season. I looked. My first one was February 16th. Pretty much like
Wow.
2 weeks after the Super Bowl, you kind of get that itch, right? And you got to do something. But you know what? Like you look at guys now, right? And I know we're going to talk about some of the rookies a little bit later. But some of these guys, like Josh Jacobs, is now. I saw him go. I just started one a couple days ago. He went in the 3rd round.
Of a
Josh
best ball
Jacobs
draft.
did of a best ball, yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to say back in March, before these guys were drafted, Josh Jacobs, you probably could have gotten him in the 7th, 8th round, right? So
Wow.
the advantage is that first of all, like I'm a Canadian, so I don't watch a lot of your college football. I'm not really into that. But where I learn about it is on everything that we listen to. But then also you go through the best ball process, and you start to see what the consensus, top rookie picks are. There's always a couple running backs with rookies in their first year. It's a gamble, I think, if for a wide receiver to see if they're actually going to get any payback, especially in a seasonal league. But some of these running backs, man, I mean, like I saw Darrell Henderson just today going, I want to say round 7 of my current draft. And so it's you can see where these guys are going to be going, and then you can take that information in your rookie drafts for your dynasty leagues, because then you have an idea. Okay, these guys are pretty sought after. These guys aren't. Which I'm going to be interested to talk to you a little bit about some of those rooks, especially that McCole Hardman. That's one guy on my list I want to chat with you about.
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to get into it. I already had so I posted on Facebook. I already had a listener here tag me specifically in their rookie draft. If you give me just a second here, I could definitely pull it up. But he had, it looks like right here, he went with Josh Jacobs 101.
Yep.
Mecole Hardman 110. Andy Isabella 2-1. Kyler Murray 2-6. So obviously this is not, we're not playing super flex here or tight end premium. And I think we need to get to that too.
Absolutely.
Actually, I would probably like to maybe start with that, maybe even right now, because looking at, and this is great. We're gonna analyze the live, rookie draft that just finished. So continuing on, 3.1, he went Benny Snell, which is a bad move. 3.6, Emmanuel Hall. Okay, Jay Sternberger 3.8, that's good. Jalen Hurd 3.14, that's good. Raquel Armstead 4.1, that's good too.
Wow, okay, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, well, and you never know who these people are playing with, and I think that's why I become akin to you, because we talk an awful lot, just generally back and forth through our other league, and so you didn't touch on how we know each other. I'll go ahead and run into this real quick, but we actually met by complete happenstance chance. We both listened to a specific, radio show on Sirius XM, and you don't know that you can always mute your mic. There you go. Good. Yeah. So we listened to a specific show on Sirius XM that we both really loved. We follow it really truthfully, and we really enjoy listening to it. And so when they reached out to their fans asking to be set up in a league and kind of a listener league, we both happened to just randomly join in. And I would say I am definitely the most maniacal one of the league. I am either drafting while completely slammed on tequila or making every trade that I can, even some that bend me over because I'd like to get ahead in the long run. What you also don't know is I'm not even wearing pants right now. Okay? Nobody can tell.
Fantastic.
Nobody can tell. I'm not wearing pants right now. I still got my underwears on, but I'm not wearing pants because it is hot. It's hot in my studio, and I needed to not wear pants. I just felt like that would be the great way to go. And so here's the thing: we're getting into this rookie draft. This is great. Okay, Josh Jacobs 101, Mecole Hardman 110, Andy Isabella 21. But this is where I take up offense to this. Kyler Murray 2.6. So it's very clear you're not playing Superflex, which is fine. But if we've watched a previous episode, I kind of went in on it. But anybody who's even having dynasty rookie drafts need to be starting to play Superflex leagues. You need to start it. 2 QB. I mean, the fact that Kyler Murray is going mid-second round, I mean, imagine how much more quarterbacks would be involved in the first round had you been in a Superflex league. So Mecole Hardman might not have been picked 110, or it involves you to have to say, that's my guy. I want to go and get him. And what kind of strategies do you like to do? Or I think me personally, I'm very attachment prone to players. If I like somebody, I'm going to go and get them, and I'm not going to be bashful. I sold Saquon Barkley to get Travis Kelce in our tight end premium Superflex league, mainly because I am a Travis Kelce guy. Like, he won me a lot of leagues last year. He's going to hopefully win me a lot of leagues to come. And in Dynasty, you get him forever, and so I like to go after the players I love. Do you like to do that, or do you like to sit back and catch value?
I mean, I think we'd be lying if we said we didn't want to go after our guys, right? But it's got to make sense. I mean, I was just thinking that it takes a lot of guts to trade a guy like Saquon Barkley, and I remember that. So to your point, going back, I think that a Superflex tight end premium league, especially for your dynasty leagues, is a must nowadays. We'll get to as to why a little bit, but in terms of like going for our guys, I find that sometimes that can kind of bite you in the butt too. Right. So a perfect example of this is that I was a Leonard Fournette guy last year, and I went hard after Leonard Fournette. I took him early second round in my dynasty rookie draft last year. And that's a gamble because I think I paid up for him. I knew I wasn't going to get him at the end of the third, which is when I would have been picking again unless I traded up. So I'm like, all right, this is my guy. I'm getting him. And I went and I got him. And there were some other players there that I could have gotten. Some of the wide receivers fell. I think Michael Thomas fell. So I could have had Michael Thomas, and my first overall pick was Keenan Allen. Same deal. He was my guy. I thought he was going to have a great year. I think he was then 2 years removed from the injury, and I went and I got him. So I think it's got to make sense. One of the players that kind of jumps out in my head this year as everybody's guy seems to be Juju. Juju, he's a social media darling. He's all over the place. And don't get me wrong, I love Juju, but I've seen him go the 112 or the 112-2-1 turn in some of these best balls so far. And I just think that's too early. So it has to make sense. But I mean, if you got a guy like Kelce and you want him on your team, I say go for him. Why not, right? I mean, it's your team after all. I mean, if you want to watch a guy like Todd Gurley go down in flames, just go and get Raquel Armstead. That's what I did in my dynasty draft this year. I think it was at the 208.
You mean Darrell Henderson? You mean Henderson?
No, Raquel Armstead for Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Never mind. I thought you were talking about Todd Gurley. So you're saying you went after.
I'm talking about Leonard Fournette. Yeah. So
yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
So I went and I spent my money on Leonard Fournette last year, early in the 2 in our startup draft. So this year in our rookie draft, I think, okay, crap, I have to go and get Raquel Armstead because it's just too much of a risk, right? And so I guess that's one of the challenges is when you have a guy, it can sometimes kind of handcuff you. And then because he didn't have a great year, obviously last year, he was injured for most of the season. And when he was on the field, he played okay, but and then he went and had that little off-season driving without his license fiasco. And so then you go and you're stuck. So you can't get value for this guy. I'm not going to sell him at a loss, which could lead us into a Todd Gurley conversation after this. But then you got to go and you got to get his handcuff. So, you got to go for your guy, but you also have to be responsible. So would I personally have traded Saquon Barkley for Travis Kelce? Even in an even deal, I probably would not have done that, even in a tight end premium league. That's just me.
I'm
But that's because
crazy.
I'm not really a Kelsey guy. So I don't know.
I'm crazy, man.
You're kind of crazy. Yeah.
I'll make trades just to make trades, you know, but the
Oh, yeah.
idea is
Yeah.
that I do try to get ahead in these trades, but I'm willing to take an L for a while, just to try to get ahead long term. And I think that's the pain and pleasure of dynasty leagues where,
Yep.
hey, you know, sometimes you do have to pick for the future. Sometimes you have to take an honest look at your team and say, I probably should go into rebuild mode instead of trying to sacrifice my future to try to win now. I mean, you just got to be realistic. But you were talking about Leonard Fournette and Raquel Armstead, which kind of gets us into our first topic here. I think something that I really always want to try to do is run this kind of scene or scenario as often as we can, but buy, sell, or handcuff. Okay. Now, a lot of people would just want to sell a lot of people that aren't doing too good. And then you got a lot of people that are pro buying at value, which is great. Or a lot of people like to take the route of handcuffing. We're going to start it off with Todd Gurley today. Shane, buy, sell, or handcuff?
I think you have to handcuff Todd Gurley right now. And that would be by going, and if you can get Darrell Henderson, if you're lucky, he'll probably fall late 1, early 2nd round in your rookie drafts this year. You have to go and you have to get him. Because, I mean, even just this morning, I don't know if you saw the sleeper update, but basically the coaching staff is worried about his knee right now. And that's a challenge. Everybody who plays fantasy football, who's playing fantasy football in May, knows that Todd Gurley's injured right now. So they know that if you want to sell him, they're going to get him cheap. And so what do? Well, I'm not going to sell him for 80 cents on the dollar. That doesn't make any sense. When Todd Gurley's on the field, he's still the best, ahead of Saquon Barkley. He's the best player in fantasy football in any given play, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. So do you really want to blow up your team for a discount to get rid of Todd Gurley? Or would you rather be a little bit more aggressive, maybe trade one of your later round picks so you can, maybe like a later player, maybe throw in a 2nd round, late 3rd round pick sort of thing, get back into the late 1st round and get Darrell Henderson, lock up that backfield. Because guess what? Darrell Henderson, they didn't draft him in round 6. I think they drafted him in round 3. That's some pretty high draft capital for a team that already has a guy like Todd Gurley on his team. And then we all saw what C.J. Anderson did last year against a lot of teams, but he was the only one I think who did anything against my Patriots in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah,
so
that's another discount on you is your Patriots and your Raps, the Raps and the Pats, huh?
The Raps and the Pats. I guess I'm all East. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm an unfortunate Flames fan, so that's my misery every single season.
I always used to like to play with the Flames when I played the old NHL, like 2000s or something. Yeah.
Listen, it's been a long time. It's been a long time since they won their cup. It was 30 years yesterday that the Flames won their Stanley Cup.
Oh my gosh.
It's been a few days.
30 years to the day.
Yesterday,
yeah. Do you think that the answer or the common, I think this is an easy one, a common consensus is to handcuff. Do you think that the answer is to handcuff purely because it is so easy to do so? I mean, realistically, you're not going to pay very much to get Henderson. And and even if you wanted to reach on the guy, you would be reaching at 2.01. And to me, I don't know that that's an incredible reach. I mean, obviously the answer is handcuff, but I think it's probably just because right now Darrell Henderson is so cheap. But I think that's kind of the beauty of having early drafts. Yes, there's some things that can happen post-draft that affect your team. But I mean, if you're sensible to the situation and if you want to become a better fantasy football player, you have to be in on these stories and these editorials. You almost have to be your own, analyst or your own journalist. And you have to kind of play your fantasy team like you would if you were a real GM. You understand Todd Gurley, at his worst range of outcomes, doesn't even play this year. Right? I mean, that's his worst range of outcomes right now. You're not hearing a lot of good things, and he might start. What if he goes on the PUP list? You won't see him for like 8 games or however long the PUP list is.
Or
if you start
potentially
the season.
or even the IR designated to return. What's that, 8 weeks, I want to say?
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm thinking. Is somewhere in the
season.
vicinity of like 6 to 8 weeks. And if there is news that comes out, and it comes out in July 29th, then everybody's up to it. Darrell Henderson will be going in the first 4 picks. And why wouldn't you draft Darrell Henderson over any other running back in this draft class if Gurley does not start the first 4 or 5 games? I mean, this guy is a phenomenal player on the field. He's very Todd Gurley-esque in his play style. Well, I guess I'm discounting how great Todd Gurley is.
He's smaller than Gurley.
Yeah, but Todd Gurley's amazing. And so maybe it's not the fact that you could put anybody behind that offensive line and have them play electric, just like you got, all your wide receivers. I don't know. But I mean, I'm thinking handcuff. But I'm crazy. I'm going to sell Todd Gurley right now, mainly because I would sell him. Even. I would say that I would sell him as a crazy head, not my analyst, but then I'm tapping in my craziness. I'm going to sell Todd Gurley, but I'm going to convince you that he may not be at a discount. I mean, you got somebody who doesn't have a solid RB1 on their dynasty team, especially in Superflex. Maybe they got 2 good receivers, 2 good quarterbacks, and a great tight end, but they're rolling with freaking... Actually, like my running back core. I mean, I only had. Yeah. You don't. I mean, you've got a lot of second tier guys as your RB1, and that can happen that way, and that's exactly why Superflex tight end premium is great. You might be able to run with a couple of number 2s, but if you are, then you likely have a good QB1 and a good WR1, and you're on your way. But, it's kind of it's kind of crazy. But I'm going to go ahead and sell him. I'm going to sell him, and I'm going to say, listen, you're going to give me back a number 2 RB, and then you can go ahead and you can mute your mic there. Thank you. Anarchy is going on over there. But I'm going to go ahead and sell. I'm going to get back an RB2 that you got. I'm going to get your first round pick, and I'm going to get your first round pick next year. I feel like Gurley is worth that. And my goal at that point is just to make you believe that too. And if somebody's running back core on their dynasty team is light in star power, to me, that's an upgrade, even though you have to give away so much.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I agree, though. I think right now, if you were to sell him at, quote, value, you'd want to get probably a starter in return. I mean, the guy that I think of right away is a guy like Devonta Freeman, which is who's on my team. He would be a good guy to get in return because this year, barring that he actually is healthy, that he's probably going to have a pretty darn good season. He's the guy. They didn't go out and get anybody in the draft. Tevin Coleman's gone. I know they've got Ito. But Freeman's the guy. He gets goal line. He can catch the ball, but he's old. I want to say he's 28, 29 years old. So he doesn't have a lot of time left in the league. So you get him, call it as a rental for 1 or 2 years, but you're also building for your future because you're going to get 2 first-round picks in return. So I think that's a good value. Now, if somebody's coming to me to offer a first-round pick and maybe, I don't know, an RB, late art, like a Lamar Miller kind of guy, I got no time for that, right? So it's got to be worth it. Absolutely.
And I think that trade could be worth it on both sides because you like you have in our league. I mean, you've got Devonta Freeman as your RB1. I mean, here's the thing. You could be drafting 8 to 12 in the next 2 draft classes, and you're going to miss on the top elite talent potentially, anyway. And so why don't you grab something that when healthy is a sure thing almost, or in a sense, and then you can also wait out his, success. If he ends up coming back and being great. And then, hey, now you can go back and get the same capital or more and call it a wash. And you were able to get somebody that was an every week starter. You didn't have to freaking scold your mind over whether or not he was going to, who were you going to play that week, blah, 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 blah. And then, even if you did decide to play somebody just crazy or random, it's not always a hit. And it's just fantasy football, especially on the dynasty scale, it comes with a lot of downs. But if you hit on the right person, or if you go out there and buy him and he hits it back up, he starts week 1 and he scores you 30 points a week every week, that's a score. And so I think in that point, both parties favor, get good favor from the trade. And you just got to take a little bit of the risk. And are you a risk taker? I am.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think we all have to take risks to win. I mean, just going back to your point, you don't want to be in the 5th or 6th pick in your draft. You want to be drafted in either 1st or 12th. That's it, as far as I'm concerned. You want to go all in, because typically in every draft, there's about 3 or 4 top guys that you want to get. And if you don't have one of those top picks, it's going to be really tough to get up there. But just one last point that I want to bring up just about handcuffing. You just have to go back one season to look at all the poor Le'Veon Bell owners that did not get James Conner in the 12th or 13th round. That's the perfect example. When you've got an offense that goes through the running back, you want that handcuff.
Yeah, or even handcuff to handcuff with Jalen Samuels, and he gave you great production in his 2 starts or something like that. Like, he was an easy fill in. And it's great to handcuff. When you have a piece of an electric backfield, then you can just say, hey, listen, I'm literally going to just throw him into that system. It doesn't matter. You're right. James Conner, that's a perfect example.
That makes sense. But now, I've got another example where the handcuff kind of backfired on me last year. So I had Tevin Coleman, and I was thinking, all right, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get my stock split. Guess what I also had? Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah.
So I go from one meddling backfield to another meddling backfield.
That's
so it can also bite you in the butt.
Yeah, well, hey, I guess you got to be better, right?
Absolutely. Exactly.
Hey, so are you taking a risk on Josh Rosen? Buy, sell, or handcuff?
All right, so it's got to be in the context of a super flex league, because if it's just a regular 1 quarterback league, I got no time for Josh Rosen.
We don't play those leagues.
We don't play in those leagues, so we're not even going to talk about them. I would say I'm going to buy Josh Rosen right now, and here's why. So the early reports are that Ryan Fitzpatrick, is currently outperforming Josh Rosen at OTAs. That might be a little bit worrisome, but we know every single year Fitz will put up 1 or 2 games, and then he'll give you a 4 or 5 interception game. He'll get benched. So that'll give Rosen at least the opportunity. But then I don't think there's very many people that think that the Dolphins are going to do well this year, which means they really could be in contention for that 101 next year, and that could be Tua. So they need to figure out, okay, do we have somebody here in Josh Rosen, or are we just going to bomb it? We might as well play with Fitzmagic. For all we know, I think Rosen's he could be easily traded next year or cut, and they could go and get Tua at the 101. So I would say I would take the risk and go after Josh Rosen. But again, it's also about price, right? In my opinion, Josh Rosen is probably worth a late 2nd round rookie pick, early 3rd round rookie pick. It's tough sometimes because you talk about the value, and these lower end, sometimes starter quarterbacks, call it maybe a quarterback 25, 26, I would say they'd be in line with an RB3 in terms of a value. And then at that, mid to late 2nd round is where you're kind of starting to take dart throws. You might be getting like a Justice Hill, or that's where you go and get maybe a Damian Harris or your Raquel Armstead. So those are the types of players you're getting in that round. If you can trade for Josh Rosen, who could potentially be the starter, he's still a young kid. He's got a lot of promise, and he's got the talent. You look at Arizona last year, and they were just an absolute dumpster fire. He had no chance to even succeed. Now, I want to say Miami's offensive line, they drafted a center and a tackle this year in the draft, in the 3rd and the 6th.
Yeah, their offensive line's pretty decent. I mean, they got the bong rip killer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, he's got to be good, right?
Well, I mean, that's why they got him. He would have been a top 3 pick, I want to say.
Yeah. Somebody would have overpaid.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, so there's an opportunity there where he could have a better offensive line. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of weapons per se, but I mean, he does have Kenyon Drake's there, so he can maybe spell him a little bit. It's going to be risky. I think he's got a better opportunity this year in Miami than he did last year in Arizona. So they're gonna want to see what they paid for. I think they gave up a second round pick to Arizona for him. So it's a fair amount of draft capital, but they have options. If they end up tanking and then they end up with that first overall pick, they can take Tua. He is a generational quarterback, or quote generational quarterback.
Right.
That's
He's the next Russell Wilson to my eyes.
Absolutely, exactly.
So okay,
So
so Dolphins,
yeah,
so basically what we're saying is Fitzmagic may be a better QB, may be able to sling it, may be able to win some tight games, but if the Dolphins are doing two things, either hoping that no matter what, they're probably in play for Tua, or they're going to have Josh Rosen succeed. So for that stance on things, they're going to play him. To me,
absolutely,
that just seems like I don't care how bad he is, stick him in there. The
absolutely.
fan bases today and how big fantasy football is and how big just football is right now. I mean, geez, the freaking Nashville draft held like 200, 300,000 people. Like,
300,000 people showed up to that draft.
yeah, football's a big deal. People know about Tua. The Browns, like look at them now. Like that if
Crazy.
you have a fan base like the freaking Dolphins, you're thinking you are legit a couple great pieces away from being excited about watching your team again. Dude, I can tell you the same thing as a Seahawks fan. We went through some really bad years. Tavares Jackson, okay, Sidney
Yep.
Rice, like Matt Flynn. We paid Matt Flynn like $60 million just to come here and be beat out by Russell Wilson in his rookie year. But it takes Russell Wilson to completely change the entirety of the Seahawks organization forever. Like, I'm living in history as a Seahawks fan right now. And I feel like it's potential that could happen to Rosen. Last year, he was garbage. Like you said, he only completed, I got it right here, he only completed 55.2% of his passes, and he played 14 games. In 14 games, 11 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. So he had an interception a game and less than a touchdown a game. He was throwing to Larry Fitzgerald, David Johnson, and Ricky Seals-Jones, and then a couple pipsqueaks. And
Well, I wouldn't call Christian Kirk a pipsqueak. He was just a rookie.
okay, but the small guy,
The small guys, yeah.
the small guy. But Christian Kirk had a phenomenal year with Rosen, and so he proved that he can be productive and resourceful with anybody. That's why he's on my hot list this year. But I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to buy Rosen. There's not very many opportunities for you to draft a quarterback in the mid to late second round that's going to start. And so again, if you're there and you're not hot on anybody and you don't think anybody's going to be there 2-5 and on, you got to go out and get Josh Rosen. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you just look at where Dwayne Haskins is going to be going. I mean, he's in these super flex leagues. He's probably going to go, I would say 102, maybe as late as the 105, but not much later than that. So when you talk about your opportunity cost, you can get a potential starter, maybe using a late second round pick to get that draft capital. I think it's a no brainer to me. And then, I mean, just look at it from Miami's perspective. I mean, the window, I hate to say it, the window on New England is closing. And then what have they got? They've got guys like Sam Darnold. They've got Josh Rosen, not Josh Rosen, Josh Allen. That these other teams, the Bills and the Jets, have. So there's an opportunity there where the AFC East is up for grabs in a year or two once these guys get a little bit of experience. So all they need is that hot young quarterback, and then that's it. Then they can build around them. You get him on his cheap rookie deal. You go out and you draft a couple wide receivers, just look at what Arizona did, and you surround him with some talent, and then who knows? The sky's the limit at that point.
Yeah, I think what you need to start doing to these freaking kids, man, because gone, I think, is the day where you get a just true prototypical pocket passer quarterback that is big, and has zero mobility, an Eli Manning-esque, a Phillip Rivers-esque, Ben Roethlisberger-esque. I think that those days are gone. I think the athleticism in these quarterbacks are being brought to the forefront, and they're being hugely successful. Cam Newton, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, who's going to be Lamar Jackson. Yeah. Mariota really is a more mobile quarterback. And these mobile quarterbacks are not only able to get a lot more done on the field as far as fantasy goes, but when you're a true NFL owner and you just say, listen, we're going to just let this guy go out there and play. Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's looking for the highest paid quarterback contract ever. In my eyes, Dak's not very accurate, just like Cam Newton. They just got this thing about them that they can't really put it together all the time. But man, do they let him just go out there and freaking throw whatever pass he wants. And if he sees it, he's got it. And that's great. And that's what you want as a franchise. And I think the fan bases and the team and everybody gets behind that. And I think that if Josh Rosen can just be let go, and just play like he wants to and play how he can play to his strengths, he can be good again. And we'll have to see. Somebody who I think that we can't continue to just let go out there is Tyreek Hill. Okay. He is somebody who right now I would be selling, and I would be selling hard. Because he's still worth all that in a bag of potato chips. But you're literally 1.5 months away from him potentially being worth nothing ever. So you might as well sell the guy. And I'm not saying you off him for pennies, but he's worth a first-round rookie pick. Don't you agree?
Oh, if I could get a first-round rookie pick for Tyreek Hill, I would push that button so fast. I don't think you're going to get much for this guy at this point, honestly. I know that there was those text messages that came out that said, well, this one thing or another thing, but essentially suggesting that he wasn't the one to commit those acts. And look, I'm not a judge, but I do know that right now there is a microscope on the NFL, and I do not see him playing this year. Just because of the situation. I mean, his son was removed from the home, and I mean, it's all circumstantial because they didn't have enough to charge him. So be it. I'm not going to be the one to judge him, but the NFL has that power. As an employee, they need to come down and say, no, we're not going to let our players be in these great situations. And I think they're going to put them on the commissioner's exempt list at least for a year. And then, I mean, the reality of the situation is that there wasn't a video, right? Whenever there's a video a la Ray Rice, the ramifications in the league tend to be a lot more harsh. I mean, his talent was obviously declining, but he's gone. After that happened, he had no opportunity. So even though Tyreek is an insane talent, we all know what he can do. I don't know if a team would give him a chance after doing a 1-year commissioner exempt list. That's if the Chiefs don't cut or actually end up maybe keeping him, probably cutting him. I'm not sure, but man, if I could get a second, maybe even a third-round pick, I would sell hard on Tyreek Hill right now, because you know what? I don't think he's going to be worth much in the very near future.
Well, I think it's also the same thing as a Todd Gurley right now. It's so easy to pull the handcuff button this year, because you can get Mecole Hardman at, if you really wanted him, you can go get him at 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 or 12, whatever. I would say he's probably not getting past 10 because he is polarizing and the situation fits so well. And legit, he is just able to pop right back in the same role. So I think it's awesome to have these options. And so if you have Tyreek Hill, I think you need to sell him. But if you're too scared, then go ahead, handcuff him. If you have the top 5 pick in your draft, trade down, acquire some more, picks or acquire a potential starting receiver if Mecole's not working out, and then go out there and draft Mecole. I think you wanted to get into Mecole Hardman a little bit. We're here now. What do you got?
Well, see, I'm not sure how much I buy into Mecole Hardman. I mean, we all followed the pre-draft process, and I didn't hear a lot of chit chat about him. I mean, I'm not a stats guy. I'm not going out there watching game tape with these players, but there's a lot of industry experts that Mecole Hardman wasn't on their top 15, top 20 list. So as much as we have to value draft capital, particularly for a guy like a wide receiver, he's not the same player. Just because he's quick, like John Ross, it doesn't mean he's going to be an instant success. Doesn't mean he's going to have the hands of a Tyreek Hill. I mean, that's half the battle. Tyreek could also catch the ball. He could take slants. He was a great route runner. He wasn't just a deep threat. And I mean, Mecole Hardman, he could get there, absolutely. And from a comp perspective, I mean, he's basically like a clone of Tyreek Hill. But it takes time. And if you're going, maybe in your rookie drafts, going after him, but at that point, you might as well go for any of those high-end wide receivers. I would rather take a guy like AJ Brown, who went to the Titans, which is kind of an abysmal passing offense. I would rather take him over a guy like Mecole Hardman, who we know is fast. We know he's got opportunity, but I mean, the broken man, Sammy Watkins, he's still there, so he's going to be the number one. People who think that Mecole Hardman's going to walk in and be the number one right off the bat, I just don't buy that. So to me, he's a little bit controversial because I would rather have a guy like DK, who I got at the 108 in one of my drafts, who went after Mecole Hardman. So that's kind of where my head's at on that guy. I think he's being overvalued right now.
I think we're in a situation of the offense, being so great. I think everybody has always kind of played off that, it's like running backs in Shanahan's system.
Shanahan.
Running backs in that system, you're all so in love with Shanahan and running backs, but it's not the case all the time. I mean, the player does, account for more than I think everyone thinks. Let's compare Mecole Hardman's stats to Tyreek Hill. 5'10", 187, ran a 4.33. Tyreek Hill, 5'10", 185, ran a 4.34. So, yeah. I mean, technically, he's we're splitting hairs on how much faster, taller, and heavy that's the same.
They're clones of each other.
They're exactly a clone. And then you got Tyreek Hill, although went in the 5th round. Okay.
Yep.
And now you have huge draft capital on Mecole at pick 224. Their agility scores. I mean, Tyreek Hill has a way kind of higher burst profile and agility profile, which definitely can play into him getting off the line. But I'm not sure if I'm buying into Mecole Hardman either, but I'm willing to take a chance, as great as Patty Mahomes is, I don't want anybody throwing me the ball that's not him. And here's what's really crazy. Here's a tweet that happened just the other day after practice. Patrick Mahomes commented on a video of Mecole Hardman catching the ball, and he says, yeah, that's great. Now, if you could only just not stop running. Like, apparently he's like, and you could probably see it. He's probably getting to the point where he's not necessarily sure if he's beat the coverage yet or if he's beat the player in practice. And so he might either, slow down or just figure that he's out of the play by now because he didn't hit it. And Patrick Mahomes, you got to understand that dude's throwing the ball 90 yards. Okay. So don't stop. Like, that's what you need.
Don't stop, Mecole. Don't stop.
Don't stop. And I think that's a telling thing because that's something Tyreek Hill definitely has. And they've only played a year. I believe last year was his rookie year, correct? Yeah. So,
well, it was his sophomore year, but I think he had one game in the previous season. So for all intents and purposes, it was his first year.
Right. He's a Ben Simmons. So, that's something that I was really surprised on how well they are connected, him and Tyreek, because when you see Tyreek catching these balls and they're 65, 70 yards downfield, sometimes Tyreek doesn't pull away until the last 10 yards, and sometimes he just burned the coverage, and that's great, and you can do that when you're super fast, but what you can't do is run a 100-yard sprint fast the whole entire time. And if Mecole Hardman can do that, and that's exactly what Patrick Mahomes is asking of the guy, then that guy's going to be electric. And the Chiefs organization will have a solid argument as to, hey, we're going to go ahead and sit Tyreek on our own because we don't need him. We got this guy. We drafted him only in the second round, and we're ready to unleash the beast. But Mecole Hardman, Tyreek Hill, all of this just plays into my Travis Kelce shares that I love so much because he is the de facto number one target option in Kansas City. And I am buying into that offense because in our Dynasty League, I did make a trade and I acquired not only Travis Kelce, but also Damian Williams. Superflex, tight end premium, it is the way of the future. Everybody needs to be playing Superflex tight end premium. What do you think it adds to the fantasy game? And now we're speaking. Hopefully, our viewer who gave us his draft is still listening in. But why? We're telling you to play Superflex. We're also telling you to go even further to play tight end premium. Why?
Why do you play Superflex? Okay. So for those who only play in a single quarterback league, I think you can go about 18 quarterbacks deep. In any given week, one of those guys can be a top 5 quarterback. What's the point? You might as well get rid of the position. There's no nuance to the position. Now, the second you throw in a second quarterback or a Superflex option, that changes things a lot because guess what? You're paying in a 12-man league. That's 24 quarterbacks that need to start. Is there in any given week 24 legit starters? Maybe. And then you start talking about, all right, well, what about bye weeks? So that's 36 you need. There's not 36 starting quarterbacks in the league. So it becomes a challenge. It's that extra layer of, okay, we know that running backs, wide receivers in a tight end premium league, these players are important. But now, okay, well, who am I going to be going after? Am I going to want to go and get a Patrick Mahomes as a top probably 3 pick in Superflex redrafts this year, as well as Superflex dynasties? Do I want to spend that draft capital, or do I want to go and get a Saquon Barkley potentially? No, I mean, you have to make those tough decisions, and then obviously there's a ripple effect on how you build your roster thereafter. And then that also, I think, ties also more to the tight end premium. When we say tight end premium, essentially it's a 1.5 point per reception for tight ends. And it's the same thing. I mean, we talk about the big 3, right? You got your Kelce, you got Ertz, and you got Kittle. And then I want to say there's a pocket of guys like your Hunter Henrys, your OJ Howards, where they're pretty good, but they're still not catching a lot of balls throughout. They're probably going to go 5, 6 receptions in a game with the upside potential of a touchdown. When you start throwing in the premium, these guys who are major parts of the offense, even your Jack Doyles of the world, who is one of the favorite weapons of Andrew Luck, these guys start to have value. And again, there's nuance. Do you go and are you crazy like a Beck and you trade a Saquon Barkley to go get Travis Kelce? You would not do that in a regular league. You would only do that in a tight end premium league. Oh, and then what about trading for guys like, I don't know, Josh Rosen, who we just talked about? Guys like this, you need to know who these quarterbacks are. You need to understand more about the league. And why do we play fantasy football? We want to challenge ourselves. We want to be fun. But you know what? You know why we play these leagues? We want to beat our friends. We want to beat them at fantasy football. And guess what? If you know that Josh Rosen might not be the starter in week 1, but by week 3, he's going to be the starter, you're going to get him late in your draft, and you're going to have a legitimate starting option as your Superflex option in Superflex leagues. It makes it more fun, guys. It makes it more challenging.
that frees up, let's say you're starting two QBs, that frees up your opportunity to go ahead and draft a tight end and maybe that wide receiver you really like, and that frees up that option because later on in the draft you're gonna throw a dart at Rosen, and if it works out, then great for you. My whole thing is the reason why I play Superflex and the reason why I play tight end premium is because the most fun part about fantasy football, and I think everybody can agree, is the draft. Okay. When you're sitting with your friends or you're on the clock and you're like, oh shit, what am I going to do? And that, hey, why in the world do I have to draft a quarterback right now? We only start one. There's 15 of them that are good. I can just wait until 12th round and I can get a Matt Stafford and he'll be fine. That'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Same thing with tight end. It's like, well, all of us have to have one, and so maybe I'll wait to the 13th round and I'll get a Jack Doyle because really it's just one position. It's not too incredible, but instead I'm going to go out there and make sure I have 3-star receivers and 2-star running backs. So the draft now becomes more fun because now there's 24 quarterbacks at play that you play. You're going to play 2 each week. Plus your tight end's getting 1.5 per reception. So now that guy probably has more value than your number 2 receiver. And he could be your number 1 guy on your whole entire team if you're rolling with a Kelsey. And now I don't know what to do with my draft. And I'm just like, oh shit, I've got 12 options at every pick that I pick for the first 6 or 7 or 8 rounds. And it really makes it fun to be able to either try to challenge your skill and maybe you like someone, you go a little early, or just being able to say, hey, having all these options makes the game more fun. But also, I think once you add super flexes and you put in a tight end premium, I think it also makes it more fun because now you have more starting roster spots. I'm a huge fan of removing the kicker in defense because, again, they're late round picks and they are just trash. Who cares who your defense is? Who cares about the 3 to 5 points? Or you might win with a 15 point. There's no skill. There's no real skill in picking that. So great. Let's get rid of them. Let's add 2 more flex spots where you can actually go out there and draft a wide receiver that you're going to watch in the game and it be more fun. And so that's essentially what I will not play. I mean, I'll play redraft leagues with my friends because they're my friends. And we're unfortunately in kind of a little keeper redraft league that both of us have been just right there. But again, it's kind of turning into a redraft league, which is fine because all those crazies in our league that don't want to go dynasty, it's like, come on, Chicken Littles, and they will understand that. And Sully, my arch nemesis in the whole entire world, you can get bent over too, Sully, and I'll see you later. Most polarizing rookie this year. What do you got for me?
Well, okay, so I had to think about this. I mean, it's hard to say that there's necessarily one specific polarizing rookie, but one of the guys that I wanted to bring up was Mecole Hardman. So I think we've already touched on him, but I want to get your thoughts on Marquis Brown. So first wide receiver drafted in the draft this year, going to the Baltimore Ravens, to the admittedly inaccurate Lamar Jackson. Marquise Brown, as you know, played with your boy Kyler, and he was Hollywood Brown. He was fun to watch. He's a fun guy to watch, but he's not very big. And one of the things that people don't know about Kyler is that he's been one of the most accurate quarterbacks in college football history. So he goes from a guy like Kyler to Lamar Jackson, who, on paper might have a similar playing style. I mean, he's quick, he's elusive, but the guy can't throw the ball. And, oh, that's right, Marquise Brown is coming off an injury. So he may not play or even be ready to play at the start of the season, which means he's missing his rookie camps. He's missing preseason. He's not getting those reps in. He's not getting that routine. So Marquis Brown, I mean, I've seen people taking him in best balls. I've seen people taking him in the mid to late first round. And for me, that's way too expensive for a guy that you might not get any value from in the 2019 season.
5'9", 166 pounds.
Jeez.
He didn't run his 40 at the combine, so he was injured. So we don't know how fast he is tape line, but his college dominator is only in the 39th percentile. His breakout age was 21.3, again, probably due to injuries, only 31st percentile as well. You asked me kind of what I thought about him. I have no fucking clue how the Baltimore Ravens continue to try to draft wide receivers. It's ridiculous. Brashard Perriman was the same idea where the dude was just straight line fast. He's not very good, and it's just like, why are they enamored with some of these people? 5'9", 166? What's he going to do?
They saw John Brown last year and how successful he was in the offense. They're like, all right, we're going to go get a guy that can do that again. But I totally
in the first
agree.
round,
they could have waited. They could have gotten a guy like AJ Brown, who was a monster.
They could have had N'Keal Harry.
Receiver. They could have had N'Keal Harry, who fortunately went to my Pats. First time they've ever drafted a wide receiver in round one. I might have to add. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it just, Baltimore looks like one of these organizations just doesn't have a plan. And I mean, I love Justice Hill. I actually took him in second round of one of my rookie drafts. Guy is amazing to watch, but I worry about a guy like Justice Hill in that offense. They're going to try to give the ball to Mark Ingram. He's going to play fine. I mean, the Baltimore running back always is fine, but that's just another knock against Marquis Brown. I mean, they're not a throwing offense; they're a running offense. But then it also hurts value of guys like Justice Hill, who these satellite backs that are catching the ball. Lamar Jackson's not going to toss the ball to him, so he might not get those receptions right off the bat. So what I was kind of hoping for is that Mark Ingram just plays like Mark Ingram, and Justice Hill can step up. But I'm kind of going off track here, but it just makes me upset. These teams like Baltimore that just can't get it right. I mean, you've got the defense. You've got it. You've got an experienced coaching staff. You have to make the right picks for your players on your team. What do they say? A square peg through a round hole. It's not a good fit.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play a little small devil's advocate. The Baltimore Ravens front office staff, they're not idiots. They draft some of the best talent around that they think fits their system, and that's okay. If they're drafting for system, what's not okay is reaching on a player because you are so focused on drafting your system. That's not okay. But what I would be slightly interested to see this year is, again, what I was saying earlier with Josh Rosen. If they really are going after Lamar Jackson being their guy, if they decide to finally take the freaking reins off this guy and say, Lamar, what do you think would make you more successful as a quarterback? And then he just says, I need me a gadget player that can always be open when I'm fucking scrambling, because maybe I'm just running all over the field like my head's cut off, and then I want to dump that to just somebody who found a pocket, which has been very successful for Doug Baldwin and Russell Wilson. And so I can understand that they have nobody on their offense that can do that. They went out, they got Justice Hill, and they went out and they got Marquis Brown. And so if that's the offense that they want to run, where they want to put scat people all over the field that are going to find pockets, because that before he even looks for a defender, he's somebody's team's on him because their offensive line isn't as phenomenal as it used to be. He's got to run, create his own situations, and then be able to dump it off to a speedster who's beat a linebacker or who has beat somebody deep or over the field. That is, in my eyes, I'm okay with that. And I think Justice Hill, yeah. So just to get off topic with you, like you did, I love him too, and he's kind of one of my guys that there's actually a couple guys that I really hope fall because I've got 4 picks in our dynasty league in the 3rd round. I am definitely trying to move them, you know that, but
First.
there are guys that I would be happy to select in the 3rd round if none of these picks get moved, assuming that the draft kind of falls my way. May happen, may not, but you know he's definitely very good, and I'm interested to see what happens with Marquis Brown.
I think what's really interesting, just going back to our rookie draft. I mean, I think that just a standard 1 quarterback rookie draft, a guy like Justice Hill is going to go probably mid-second round. But going back to that nuance of the Superflex league, I mean, you're going to get Kyler Murray and Dwayne Haskins are going to go in the 1st round. We know that that's going to happen. But what are you going to be taking Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, or even a guy like Will Greer, who's the backup for Cam on Carolina there? I mean, those guys could fall to the early 3rd round, late 2nd round, which means other guys like Justice Hill, maybe even a Damian Harris, they could fall into the 3rd round. And you've got just screaming value when you're staring at a running back that could be the starter in 1 year. We know that he's got talent. I mean, guys, go on YouTube, look up some Justice Hill highlights. It's just it'll get you excited. It'll get you excited. But I mean, a 3rd round pick in a super flex isn't too bad because there's that added nuance to it. So, who knows? I don't have a 2nd round. I do have a 2nd round pick, but I don't know if they'll make it past me. But we'll see. We'll see if a guy like an Irv Smith falls to the mid-2nd.
Yeah. I mean, again, there you go. I mean, this is tight end preview. I mean, like that is the greatest joy of the hanging fruit of the loins is to get an Irv Smith mid-2nd round. I mean, it's just like, come on, are you kidding me? Like they drafted him. They're already it's barely even got to off season and they're already talking about moving and trading their star tight end who's wanting a 5-year deal. Like, dude, Rudolph, you're not that good. You really aren't. They don't utilize you like that you want them to.
He's a great blocking tight end, and he can catch a few touchdowns. But man, yeah, he's not catching passes for you.
He's not changing the game. I mean, so if you're not literally giving your team a 1 extra chance to succeed because you are that stellar of an athlete, then you're not worth top 10 money at the position. It's just ridiculous.
Absolutely.
But my most polarizing player is DK Metcalf.
Okay, yeah, you know what? That would have been a good one.
Yeah. Polarizing is a word that I think you need to almost break down. Polarizing is, can somebody do something to be so great at it that it's just so deserving of these eye looks and these just you want to be drawn into his attention grabbing skills. That's polarizing. This dude runs a 4.3 40 at 238 pounds, 6'4" or whatever. I don't have the real stats in front of me.
He's an Adonis too. He's a fake. He's not even real. He's a statue.
Yeah. You've seen the pictures. He trumps over just big dudes. I mean, this guy is unbelievable, and you just want to see him. You want to watch him. You watched all draft. You waited for him to fall to the end of the 2nd round. You watched that, and that is a big deal. That was a big deal that he fell to the very last round, while you had idiot teams like the Baltimore Ravens selecting Marquis Brown with the 22nd pick in the 1st round. Just ridiculous. But DK, the reason why I vote for him isn't just because I live in Seattle. But if you understand the entire ambiance around the Seahawks team, Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, they have this mojo built about the team. They're all about, hey, we can turn 5th round picks into star elite cornerbacks, into star elite safeties, and we can really give the anybody a chance to become great on our team. And it's been a lot of people that have came through and have been great and played great for us. Same thing like what the Patriots do. A lot of people have no idea who's on the team, but they all play well and they are great. They win Super Bowls. The Seahawks win games. DK Metcalf walked in to the interview with Pete Carroll with his shirt off. And Pete Carroll took his shirt off. And it's just like, oh my God, like that's a real life interaction that, is almost like a theatrical, and only can you feel that emotion from a team like the Seahawks. You don't see Andy Reid taking his shirt off and going to be laughing it up, chumming it up with DK Metcalf. You just don't. And you couldn't. But it's the oldest coach in the NFL and who's developing these interpersonal emotional responses within a fan or within DK. You saw he wanted to be a Seahawk. On his draft video, he cried and he's like, when they called him and he was like, why'd you wait so long?
Why'd you wait so long? Yeah.
And it's just like, because he knew it. That meeting where Pete took his shirt off, he probably knew it right there, and the Seahawks knew it right there. They're going to go make sure that they got this kid. And they played it smart. They didn't overdraft him. They traded back. They accumulated so many picks. He's with the arguably number one quarterback in the league. Like Russell Wilson is statistically, like just based off statistics, like the best quarterback in the league.
It's the highest paid quarterback in the league.
He's great. And I just cannot wait to see how him and DK Metcalf are going to develop a relationship. And can DK Metcalf fix his agility? Can he do this? Blah, blah, blah. He's polarizing and he's fun to watch.
I think, you know what, when you talk about the receivers that can have an immediate impact this season, I think that DK Metcalf is one of those guys. I mean, would we be surprised if at the end of the year he had, I don't know, 70 catches for 900 yards and 7 or 8 touchdowns? I mean, last year, I want to say got 7 touchdowns, which led to the rookies last year. I could see DK getting 7, 8 touchdowns easy, just simply by outbodying a guy in a red zone, or even just outrunning a guy. I mean, he's a monster. But I mean, at the same time, if you have a big corner that can go and defend a guy like DK, I could see him also having I don't know, 1 reception for 8 yards kind of game. So he could be very boom or bust, which I think is why exactly he's such a polarizing player. I'm buying in on DK. I did get him in one of my rookie drafts this year. And I think that he's going to be a guy that's going to have immediate impact. Doug Baldwin going down certainly has something to do with that. But I mean, who's the number 2 receiver on that team? It's like, I couldn't even think of who would be. Obviously, Tyler Lockett is going to get the ball. And I know that they're a run-first team, but we heard just a couple weeks ago, Chris Carson had surgery on that knee. There's an opportunity there. I think DK is going to have a big season.
Yeah, I couldn't ask for a better draft for the Seahawks, really. They're all blue chip players. David Moore, by the way, was the number 2 receiver, right? Yeah. And who had a stellar rookie year. He's someone that I'm buying on as well. Tyler Lockett, statistically great, consistent. The Seahawks is just such a great thing going on right now.
Would you say DK is the number 2 receiver then, or no?
No. I mean, he's going to play the X, though. So, I mean, like in Madden, he's going to be the number 2 receiver. Yeah. He might even be the number 1 receiver in Madden, just the way they formulate the schemes. But, no, I would say he's number 3. And, the big slot, that's been talked about a lot this offseason and how it's the new phenomenon. Yep. So, if he can use his agility a little bit better to get off the ball directionally somewhere to get, shake somebody, or do you telling me that there's a linebacker in the league that'll run with this kid? No, not one.
No, absolutely not.
And so, yeah, this is going to be super fun. So yeah, thank you for coming on the cast, man. Last thing that you want to say, and anything, hit me.
Listen, this has been fun. I hope to come on more often, if not regularly. Look, I think that the one thing that I'd be remiss to say is that I just need to let everybody know that in the league where we met, in our listener league, I beat last year to be the #1 inaugural champion for our league. So I think people need to know that. Excuse me. They need to know that. I got a little bit choked up.
Yeah. You are just God. I can't get over the hump of your team in our redraft or partial keeper league.
Well, you know why? I mean, this year you're going to be in trouble again. I've got our boy Patty Holmes in the 5th round of our Superflex league. So
yeah, and that is what we literally said. Like, they're do this well, and you could potentially be high on somebody who might come out and shock the entire world. And when you do and you hit, it's worth it and it's great. Yeah, so go ahead. Let's end this. Tell everybody who you are, where they can find you. Then mute your mic, and I'll end this.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, shit, you can find me on this podcast. I'm Shane Seeley. I'm going to be back, I'm sure. And that's it. Peace out, guys.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you tuning in and watching. We are the Flex Network. This is now the Fantasy Flex Dynasty Podcast. We'll see you guys on another time.
This is the Flex Network. This is the Flex Network. Flex on them. Flex on everybody. This right here is the Flex Network. Yeah. Flex on them, G. Flex.